Chapter 16, Aftermath. It was only when the Rocazity Hill came into view, as the wagon train belonging to the Kurnow privateers Isolde and Tristan trailed inexorably north, did the weight of Matthew's words press on her. How was she the daughter of Bayard? It made no sense. Her mother, Ileri, was a servant at his court. Indeed, Elune knew her father to be a Saxon lord. But bastard children could inherit nothing. What use did Bayard have with her? They crossed the Hayfren River not far from Amwythig, the town the Saxons called Shrewsbury, and mourned her time there, seeking Lancelot in vain when he had gained a stead in the north. The town had not changed, though the people looked cautious. In Cymraeg she heard snippets of conversation about war and death, and more villages raided, and more churches had been established, especially down the Hayfren's length, at Caerloy and Henft, at Saltwick and Caerangen, which Elune had seen under construction as Isolde and Tristan followed it north. At Amwythig they intended to go easy, following the inland rivers of the Tame and Anker, crossing Rheinjeld Street to Tomtun, then the Roman road of Waslange Street to Bayard's capital at Rati. All that was to come. Now, the Saxon was lying face down in an unfresh bed of straw. She had decided to go with Tristan and Isolde. Unfortunately they were as honest as they were trustworthy. 20 miles from Tintagel, and Aeled was hit across the head and knocked unconscious. Thoughts of Bayard and Camelot, of Arthur and of Merlin replaced with darkness. 8,888,888. A month before. We are tied, united. King Mark of Dumnonia pulled the hand of his son, Drostan, and placed it into the hand of King Bayard. It was custom that the father of the man who was to marry would be given in hand to his lady's father. Innes, beautiful and delicate, gave her hand to her father, and it was Bayard who joined them. Drostan, a Pictish name. The lands of the Britons stretched far, from south to north. King Mark had married a Pictish princess, and his son was to marry a princess of the Saxons. We will feast well, Aeled, Enna told Elune. We are the guests tonight, and no duties in the kitchen. If only Elune had been able to take a second bite of the more fowl cooked for the future king on the occasion of his wedding. A horn blew. Several guards moved to their posts, and, a few hours later, with Innes back with her father and mother, the wedding not yet complete, the attack on the castle of Tintagel was in progress. Saxon fought Britain while the nobles defended the wedding party, many killed. Elune slipped amongst the warriors, away from Aneurin. It was fierce, but over quickly. The Saxons seen off who had been bent on stealing sheep and tin and copper, and King Mark bid injured warriors collected and treated. Except for Elune, who called for help where none came. They thought you dead, Isolde told her as she had been taken up onto a cart and wrapped in cloth, her head sore and her arm wounded. It was lucky we came along when we did. And she and Tristan went on to describe how the Mercian nobles sent to rescue their guards. Sorry we had to hit you, we will get more for you if you've been a broken bar. Isolde's voice trailed off, thoughtfully. A bit more beaten up than you were when we found you, shall we say? Tristan laughed, steering the horses. More beaten up, thought Elune as the world passed along. At least she was alive, and heading back to Mercia. They travelled slowly, for the people with Elune, Aeled as she had become once more, were infirm from the attack in Cornwall, and the time was filled with tales of unrest in this West Mercian district, the like Elune had never heard before. Wallese, Britons, had attacked from the north of Cymru. Elune had established the attack had come from Gwynedd, a land populated by incoming northern Cymraeg peoples from the far north, in a place called King, for miles beyond the Roman wall, beyond even the peoples living that far north had raided and taken land into the south and had been threatening Eberacum. Elune, instead, thought to Lancelot, and wondered where he appeared in this. His land, which Matthew had called Joyous-Gard, must be in the north. Perhaps where Say had invaded, around the Britain holy island of Medcourt. Matthew had been very distressed at this news, for Medcourt was an island of medicine and healing renowned throughout Britain lands as a place, if one reached it, would give the ailing person access to healing. Yet her mind, likely as a way of keeping the sadness of the deaths of her friends Aneurin and Seren from entering it, remembered instead Prince Arthur's servant's words. Merlin had told Elune she was an abandoned prince, that her father was a king. Matthew had said the same, and had specified Bayard. "You've changed," laughed Isolde, as she brought Elune food as they camped at the old Roman military encampment called Leto Setum. Bayard had returned to Rati, and in the darkness 2 nights before, Elune heard they planned to ransom her. "A pretty penny, the pretty boy should bring," Tristan told Isolde, as they stood beside the cart. "Bayard will pay us for a servant," Isolde scoffed. Elune heard shuffling of feet. She turned over and saw 2 pairs of feet walking a little further away. Elune peered under the animal hide covering, then shifted further forward. "I have word he is the heir to Mercia." Silence. Utmost wordlessness, which could have been held spell-wrapped until the tension in the air was strained to breaking point. Tristan put his hands on his hips. "From being near death to being alive, you mean?" At this, Isolde laughed again, her fair hair twinkling in the summer sun. "And, going along with the huge joke," Elune added, "if I am Bayard's heir, you will want me to be Aeled. I'll be worth more." The look of shock on Isolde's face was worth it. "I fight as Aeled. I am known in Rati as Aeled. But you're definitely a girl." "Yes," Elune agreed. "Like you. And, like you, I fight." That evening, Elune heard the story of the Battle of Tintagel in all its gory detail. The Britons had surrounded the mainland clifftop in defense of the citadel, and fought. And that was the last she remembered. The last, except for snippets of Broken Bar. A Broken Bar, the cheering at the rousing tale of Britain's triumph. To Broken Bar. A Broken Bar at the attack on the castle. A Broken Bar. Elune remembered she had fought, defending Innis from attackers as Bayard's and King Mark's armies banded together to repel the Britons. And now a Broken Bar. A Broken Bar, and now she was in Tristan and Isolde's company, wishing she had never disclosed her parentage. For now she was in a disadvantageous position. Injured, though she was being cared for, Elune knew she was to be bartered. "You realize Bayard will murder you for snubbing his daughter?" Elune told Tristan as they crossed the Hayfren River and followed the Roman road of Watling Street east. Of course Tristan was King Mark's son Drostan, and of course, Tristan had staged the attack so he could flee. The cart rumbled to a stop as Isolde pulled on the horse's reins. If she was going to be traded, Elune thought, she was going to hypothesize about this man's origins. Given that she had overheard Half tell another servant that in Cornish, the Pictish name Drostan was Tristan. "I am searching for my mother, a princess from Pitland," Tristan told her. "She left Mark of Tintagel and returned to her people not long after I was born." This Elune already knew, for an Aaron had told her. She had given birth in a land far away and left the child there before returning home. "And the lady's name?" Elune had asked. But she did not repeat the name to Tristan, for the name was the same as the woman her brother Lancelot had married. "Egrain." "I have a brother, somewhere," Tristan confided, as the carts rumbled east. "I know," Elune thought, as she watched the clouds and the trees pass by. "By the name of Galahad." Elune stared at the water, mourning the time she had spent in Dyria searching for Lancelot. Medcourt, the Holy Island, could be seen from the hillfort just south of it called Joyasgard. But there, Lancelot was not to be found, at least, not by Elune. The world was fracturing. She heard the frantic comrade of the locals speaking of raids from the north, of a king from beyond the Roman wall, and the fall of the Holy Island. She closed her eyes. Somewhere in this connection of people she must be related to Tristan via her birth mother and Lancelot. But her mind was tired and she closed her eyes, planning her escape in the privacy of her own thoughts. 88,888,888. The rounded silhouette of the Rocazity Hill rose in the sunset, which, in Elune's view, was both glorious and magnificent. The pale horizon, a silent sentinel watching as the wagon train of the privateers Isolde and Tristan groaned northward. For Eluneda, still dressed in the rough tunics of Aelida, the weight of Matthew's revelation pressed harder than the bruises from the skirmish at Tintagel. They spent the night at the ruined Roman city of Leto Setum. Food and rest, and Elune was asleep again. Or, So Tristan and Isolde thought, Bayard will pay well to have his lost bird back in the cage. Tristan told Isolde, for a kitchen servant. Isolde scoffed, her voice low. Tristan, we risk much bringing a commoner to a king's gate, even if the rumors are true. Tristan's voice dropped to a conspiratorial hiss. The hidden heir to Mercia. The silence that followed was absolute. Ilund felt the blood go cold in her veins. When Isolde approached the wagon the next morning with a bowl of pottage, Ilund sat up, her eyes hard. If I am Bayard's heir, Ilund told them, you'll want me to stay as a lad. A warrior son is worth more than a kitchen girl, isn't he? Isolde laughed a brittle laugh. In Rati, you'll be whatever the king pays for. 88,888,888. When they finally reached the Roman-walled capital of the city which, in the future, would be known as Leicester, the atmosphere was thick with grief, not celebration. The alliance with King Mark of Cornwall had crumbled. News had followed them, the wedding at Tintagel had been a bloodbath. King Mark, driven mad by the loss of his son Drostan to an Irish princess, who had both deserted Tintagel, and the chaos of the Saxon raids, was rumoured to have thrown himself into the sea, and Agravain was now a king. Somewhere in the back of her mind, Ilund had heard the name Agravain, but there, with Tristan and Isolde, Bayard sat upon his high seat, looking older than Ilund remembered him. Now she had the currency. Tristan, Innes's betrothed. Beside him stood the Princess Innes, delicate and pale, her eyes red from weeping. She was to have been the bridge between Mercia and Cornwall. Now, she was a political liability. Tristan stepped forward, dragging led by the arm. We bring a gift, my lord, Tristan announced. A survivor of the Tintagel massacre. One who bears a striking resemblance to a woman named Ileri. Bayard froze. He stood slowly, his gaze raking over Ilund's dirt-streaked face and the defiant set of her jaw. For a moment, the mask of the king slipped, revealing a man haunted by a ghost. Get out, Bayard whispered to the privateers. Leave the child. Take your gold and vanish. When the hall was cleared of all but his most trusted guards and the distraught Innes, Bayard approached Ilund. He didn't embrace her. He didn't offer a father's warmth. You have your mother's eyes, he said, his voice like a millstone. And my temper. It was a mistake to let Ileri leave with child, and it is a mistake for you to be here now. I seek no crown. Ilund spat, her heart hammering against her ribs. Good. Because you shall have none, Bayard retorted. He turned to Innes. Your betrothal to Mark's line is dead. You are to be wed to the Saxon Lord Odin to secure our borders. You need a shadow, someone who can handle a blade but looks like a girl. Someone I can trust because her life depends on my silence. He looked back at Ilund. You will serve Innes. You will be her protector, her confidant, and her maid. You will ensure she reaches Odin's lands safely. Ilund felt the trap closing. And after she is wed? Bayard stepped close, his breath cold. After she is wed, you are nothing to me. You will disappear into the Saxon lands. Do not ever return to Rati. Do not ever claim the name of my house. If you do, I will have your head on a pike before you can say the word father. Before she could protest, a commander stepped forward. A man sworn as a knight whose eyes held a flicker of pity. The king has spoken, the knight said, softly. The chance to leave is gone. Ilund, you are under Odin's command now. As she was led away to the ladies' quarters, Ilund passed an Erin, who had returned with Bayard's party in its humiliating traverse across the country. He pulled Ilund aside and into the kitchens, and leaned in to say something to her. Before he could, she pulled him to her and hugged him, though pulled back because of the pain in her abdomen. You caught quite a blow at Tintagel, Aneurin told her. We fought and eventually got them gone. But King Mark lost quite a few men. Drostan was here, Ilund confided. He came, to barter us, and left, with his Irish princess. Aneurin's eyes widened, nodding his head towards the hall. That was them? Ilund nodded, anger swelling in her. Had I been well, I would have fought them. Had you your wit, you could have traded your life for his. That was a bold move of his, trading you all to the man who would be his father-in-law. He pulled her to the window overlooking the courtyard. You need to get away. Aneurin pointed to the man who had spoken up for Elund. When he gets the chance, he will be. Who is he? The son of a man who traded his son as a hostage in exchange for a peace deal. Elund saw his eyes shimmering. One who married a woman called Igraine. He waited for his friend to catch on. The king's wife didn't die of a fever. Elund, Aneurin hissed, quieter now as a kitchen servant passed them by. She fled. She gave birth in a land far away, sent Drostan to King Mark, and married the Lord of Joyasgard. The secrets of this house go deeper than your blood. Aneurin, that is my blood. She hissed back. Lancelot is my brother, married to King Mark's wife, whose son is Drostan. Dresden. Elund looked back to the courtyard. I spent years looking for him. So this is Galahad, Aneurin told her. And when he can, when his father has returned from fighting for King Bayard, he too will seek sanctuary with the Britons. Another pointed pause. Camelot, Elund said, eventually. Galahad and Lancelot are going to seek sanctuary with Uther. Aneurin nodded. And you should go too. I am Saxon, Elund told her friend. He put a hand on her shoulder. And a Briton. Ileri was a Briton. Elund nodded again, looking in the direction of the hall and the throne. She was a daughter of Mercia, a servant of a Saxon-bound princess, and a carrier of secrets that could topple Camelot itself.